Webinar, I would be discussing about technology lawyering and governance in the Indo-Pacific. But since I think Shwetaji has very nicely given a background of mine, I'd like to delve a bit about why did I wish to talk about this itself, and that actually comes from my own work. So, in the past 2 years, I have had my organization called the Indian Society of AI and Law. Our work primarily was focused on artificial intelligence and law related research issues, and we have committed to publish a lot of publications, a lot of books and reports. The most important of them are actually the 2020 and 2021 handbooks of AI and international law. Now, the 2019 book which I had written for BPB publications, that book was kind of a commencement thing for me, because from there we developed new Indian ideas which were related to artificial intelligence governance and international law. So, what we realized in those 2 years was that uh, I'll give you a simple example. These handbooks which we developed, each of them contain at least 20 to 25 chapters, wherein each chapter is actually one separate or different field of international law. And we have tried to relate how that field of international law at municipal levels, which is to say local level, domestic level, and how at transnational and international level could work, and where the penetration of AI technologies could actually be understood there. That's the beauty of artificial intelligence when it comes to studying it, because it's a disruptive tech. And what happens is that many a times when we integrate technology, it just becomes a part of human life. It doesn't remain separate as technology law as we know it, or cyber law as people call it. And that's where this topic came in. That idea was that the research which we developed actually made us think that there are so many unique ideas which can actually be addressed. And it is important that when technology law now has become such a wider field, I guess when it comes to India or Bharat, whatsoever we call it, we actually can achieve a lot of legal and policy innovations, whether we are in the industry or whether we are in the academia. Now, the government, obviously, the government of India, as far as the G20 presidency is concerned, they have been very much clear and focused on technology related innovations. I'll give a simple example, one of the simplest examples. Just a news has come in, I think minutes ago or maybe hours ago, that the government of India, for the sake of, I would say, helping farmers with respect to agriculture related education, will be integrated ChatGPT, the very infamous language platform, for their day to day know hows. Interestingly, the central bank digital currencies, which is different from your currency notes and obviously currency notes stored in the bank, which you use for digital transactions such as NEFT or UPI, even they can be used by the government for helping those who are victims, or those who are, I would say, in the field of agriculture, or those who are actually in the below poverty line scale, and using the direct benefit transfers, which the government does regularly. Even they did it during COVID. They actually can track how the amount is used and how people are benefiting from it. So it may seem that technology law is a very savvy field, and it's a field which is more to metro cities. But in India, technology innovation as an Asian country, this can go to even tier 3 cities and even villages. And that is exactly where I think technology governance in the Indo Pacific comes in, because it's a unique perspective about how innovations really work. And that's why the term Indo Pacific matters, because if we remember, when a tsunami happened in 2004, there was a time that India, Australia, Japan, and the US came together to address the issues relatedly. And then what happened was that when we try to see the perspective further, we at least come to know that the idea of the Asia Pacific, which shaped many systems of international economic law, and in fact, many of our honorable judges who actually, after retirement, do practice in Singapore and Hong Kong arbitration centers. right? Now we also have a Mumbai arbitration center, then a Delhi arbitration center. Hyderabad also has its, perhaps even Pune does have it. So we can see that innovations are happening, and while most of the market focus, even in terms of litigation, not litigation, but I would say arbitration and dispute resolution, was limited to China, Japan, South Korea, Myanmar, those kind of countries. Now the pivot of Asia, which actually former President Obama of the US used to talk about, is actually now going to India. Now, it's an ambitious thing, and that's why I think that in the industry and research perspectives, we should embrace technology law in a sense that we can perform innovations when it comes to legal and policy issues. And this is something which can be achieved, and I'll give you a simple instance why. Remember the time when this GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation of the European Union, had not come up. When this regulation had not come up, what exactly had happened was that the understanding of data law and technology law as to data privacy issues and all of those. And I'm not even talking about the time when the Puttaswamy judgment came in, even way before that time. This understanding of data law, technology law, it was very dormant. It was not that much active. So what happens is that when it does not become active, it takes time to evolve. It could be with any field of law. Like, for example, in environment law, there was a concept called carbon credits. It did not evolve so quickly, it took time to, and still countries are testing if it is a practical idea or not. So, it's very much understandable that concepts related to technology, concepts related to data, they took a long time to evolve. And we are at the pivot of certain disruptive changes, wherein we have startups as well as we have people in the government who actually are trying to create innovative policies. That is where I think industry and research perspectives from a technology lawyering perspective could be developed, which is to say that when people who are committed to the field of technology law, they also evolve with time. So I have worked with IT developers, especially those developers who are full stack developers. They develop various apps, and sometimes I discuss with them about and help them when it comes to certain key compliances. So I'll give you a simple instance. Let us say that there is this Spotify music app, right? And Spotify intends to change one button which changes its functionality in certain ways. The whole bureaucratic approval that it goes within the company will actually be of so many layers, because the market risk, the legal risk, how will it be implemented, all of that is just huge. That's why technology lawyers are important, because technology law in terms of industry and research perspectives can help us see how we can use these technological innovations that happen with time. It all starts with space and telecommunication law, wherein when telecom law became the big thing, in 2005 we have the Tunis Agenda, which decided how information and communication technologies are actually used. So what is understandable here is that perhaps when it comes to doing innovations, it is important for us to take this opportunity and understand where we can offer technological innovations. If we now shift to research, and I wish to talk about academic research a bit, I will give a really interesting instance. So if you have access to Scopus and other particular libraries, and you try to find out research publications on AI and law, you might find a lot of them, but they could still be very much principle based and they're not application based. You might find a lot of research publications on data protection, privacy issues, social effect of data exploitation, and all those things related to. But if I say, fine, I have to find something on zero knowledge systems, or cryptocurrencies, or CBDCs, or perhaps anything related to a Web3 technology, or anything which is a mix of AI and other class of technologies, it will be not just hard to find. In many instances, you will just not find anything. That's the same thing with metaverse. Now, metaverse is what? You use binoculars, which are your VR based binoculars, so that you get into a virtual reality, and then you have an experience of that virtual reality via your eyes. And that's what exactly metaverse is from a hardware perspective. But imagine in a digital world, in a virtual world which is not real, you are trying to implement concepts of tax law and property law and those things, right? But it's not possible if it's not practical, and it's not practical enough if it has no meaning. And I think that is exactly where uh, I think research perspectives can become better from an Indian point of view, where Indian researchers and Indian professionals in the law field can contribute to new research, which is not just based on some legacy literature already available in libraries and other places. Because herein you have only policy sources, corporate sources, and sources which make you understand how concepts work. I think that's where technology governance itself comes in, and that's exactly where it becomes very necessary and important. So I think the inspiration that we have when it comes to technology law is this, that in India we have seen people, because we have supervised a lot of students in the past, and we have seen how they have prepared different research perspectives which have been very innovative. For example, I know a student who actually developed a research paper on artificial intelligence law and law basically, and how it applies in intellectual property, especially when it comes to integrated circuits, which is your semiconductors and the logic gates for semiconductors. Then I remember somebody who wrote an amazing chapter for the 2020 handbook, in which the person covered AI and international space law, basically explaining how space technologies and their compliance aspects, when it comes to integrating AI technologies into those space technologies, may come up, and where India does stand. So I think uh, a larger purpose is that this is a field which demands young and, I would say, motivated talent, which understands how industry uh, trends come in, and how that can be used for better to develop certain ideas and certain solutions. This is exactly where I think technology governance becomes important, and that's why I think we should be, not just motivated about it. That technology law is something which could become a very, I would say, India centric field in future, because many innovators belong to us, and I'm not talking about NRIs, I'm talking about Indian citizens who are in India, who have their startups in India, who have their entities in India. I'm also talking about government officials who are trying to do so. So I think a good combination comes in, wherein I think we can develop innovative research perspectives. And that could actually help us in anything, whether it be it academia, be it the government thing, or be it, I would say, anything related to industry realities. So, to make it more crisp and to conclude further, I just say that it was such a delightful experience to work with students here in the past, and even professionals with whom we have developed various research works and publications which focus on new ideas. And I think that is where technology governance becomes important for us. And I think the same applies for even corporate law, even fields like investment and securities. But since I'm into technology, I would reserve my position at least for law and digital technologies in certain way. It was a pleasure to speak.